2 weeks ago, Hollow Knight Silksong got its release date reveal, and it was gonna be September 4th. This reveal came completely out of left field in Gamescom and got people really excited. And Team Cherry were going to be really user-friendly with this release. They weren't gonna add any pre-orders, the price was gonna be $20, and there were no annoying microtransactions launching with the game. But unfortunately, the lack of pre-orders caused the Steam store to crash because so many people were trying to buy the game. And it took me like 3 hours to get my hands on it. So I wanna find out if Silksong is worth the hype. Silksong picks up from where Hollow Knight left off with some twists on its formula. If you've never played Hollow Knight, it's a Metroidvania with a Dark Souls aesthetic, with similar vague storytelling using the backgrounds and the enemies, and also people who talk in cryptic messages. But instead of the undead, there are bugs here. Paying attention to the world is key, because there are countless secrets to be found. And even at the beginning of the game, you can start figuring out some pieces of lore and what could be causing these weird things to be happening. The main gameplay loops in this game are exploration and combat. And exploration comes in the form of platforming mostly. Exploration can be mixed with combat when the different levels have enemies in them, and this keeps the pace of the game flowing. But while there are enemies in the exploration sections, the best parts of combat come in the form of boss fights and enemy gauntlets. Before we get deeper into the gameplay, I want to talk about Hornet's skill set. The base moves aren't drastically different from the bug guy in Hollow Knight 1, but her aerial down move has been drastically changed. In Hollow Knight 1, you could abuse enemies by pogoing off of them when using your aerial down move and chain these pogos quite easily to kill them. And this could also be used to travel over spikes and easily go through them. Instead of this pogo move, Hornet has a more violent downwards dash. And this also pogos off of the enemies and the spikes, but I feel it's a lot more difficult to use. Maybe it's because it's diagonal to the direction you were moving it and aiming it is harder, or that it's a quicker animation, or could be plenty of things, but I feel it's harder to use in general. But this is not necessarily a bad thing, because I can see skilled players being able to pull off crazy things with this, and especially when you get the dash open, you can start flowing with this move a lot. And speaking of the dash, you can now run with the dash, and also pull off some crazy combos with a dash strike into a jump, into a diagonal downwards jump. Don't get me wrong, Hollow Knight 1 allowed for some crazy skill expression and I was never really great at that game. But I think Hornet's moveset will allow for even more skill expression than before, and that's a great thing. As exploration and combat are quite intertwined in this game, most of the time spent playing this game will be going through sections where there's some quite easy exploration and quite easy combat. But the great mix of the two elements can lead to some situations that are harder than it would seem at face value with the elements set apart. And these scenarios can mostly be solved by two different ways, either with mechanical skill or with good planning. Because a lot of the enemies can be lured in the sections where they're easier to kill, but you can also just YOLO it and outhands them. Well, some people can, but if you're someone like me and isn't really great at platforming, this might be a difficult task to do, so your better option will be to carefully deal with enemies one by luring them into places where they're easier to kill. And this added player agency of going through situations differently, either by going with strategy or by going with hands or some mix of the two, leads to a very rewarding gameplay experience, especially when you get better at the game. Then you might be able to rush through enemies that before you were forced to strategically take out, but now you can just take them out with raw skill. And this will lead to some natural feeling progression on the player's part, on top of Hornet gaining new abilities whilst you explore the world. Like the aforementioned dash is the first ability you will gain, and it will take you like an hour of exploring to get there. And when you get the dash, some areas you might have seen that required the dash to get there are now open for you to explore, leading to that Metroidvania kind of feel where you get a new ability for movement and now you can go to a different place, a classic gameplay style. There are also different skills you can unlock, and these skills can be used like a fireball from Hollow Knight 1 or a silk stab from this game, and some of these are required to get through obstacles that are needed, like you need the silk stab to progress. And these different skills are usually behind boss fights or platforming challenges. I haven't gotten too far into the game yet, but these red balloons you can jump off from your pogo, and because the pogo is now a diagonal dash downwards, it can feel really difficult to try and hit these and flow in the jumps. I felt myself getting slightly better at this, but honestly it was still a struggle, and I can only imagine that the platforming will get harder from here with the addition of new moves, comboing with the new pogo move. Boss fights are my favorite thing in games, and in here they shine. I'm gonna show the first two bosses first, that are kinda meant as tutorial bosses to teach you various aspects of the game, and then a third one that's already a more complicated and a proper boss fight. The first boss is the screen bee that doesn't have many mechanics, but it teaches you to jump over opponents or to run under them, and then it spawns a couple of ads that are common in boss fights. It's a pretty box standard tutorial boss, but I feel it's already a slight step up from anything that Hollow Knight 1 would give you this early in the game. The second boss of the game, Bell Beast, is a tutorial boss as well, and it will do some slow attacks that you can jump over or walk under, and it will teach you to use your pogo attack on top of enemies while it's going under you. He also throws these huge bells that have slight arcs on them, teaching you how to dodge projectiles. And I'm pretty sure this boss is a reskin from a boss in Hollow Knight 1, but it works well here. And beating the Bell Beast will open up the fast travel system of the game. You can warp in this game, but you can use these trains in different locations. Third boss for me was the first brick wall. He's this giant red dude who has a big slashing hammer. And I couldn't beat. I had to leave and go back. After I'd gained the dash ability, I could finally face him, because you have to dash away from his jump attack. But even that wasn't a great solution, but then I found out you can trap him under this rock, and you can use this rock to keep him from jumping mostly, and this way I could beat him and finally take him down. And I think this boss's purpose here is to teach you that sometimes you don't need to stick in a fight you can't beat. You can leave and go back later after you've gained an ability, because the dash here was crucial to beating him. And you know what, I tricked you, this isn't even a boss fight, this is a mini boss. The third boss of the game, at least that I found, because you can have different routes through the terrain and there might be some bosses that I missed or haven't gotten to yet, is the first proper actual duel of the game, and fighting this boss felt incredible. She is also the first boss fight with some proper story consequences, and if you don't want any story spoilers, I would suggest you skip this part. Before the fight starts, Lace haunts Hornet and tells her to go back from where she came from, because the outside world isn't for her. She sort of mirrors Hornet's role in the first Hollow Knight game as being the first boss and being a repeat encounter, most likely because she leaves after this fight. Even her moveset is kinda like Hornet's, with her long stabs, slice attacks, jump, downward slash, and a couple extra moves that we don't have yet. She can even react to the player's attacks by parrying them if you attack her willy-nilly, making this a really interactive fight and making you wanna try and punish her mistakes, which is really cool. Overall, this is a fantastic boss fight, and I hope there are plenty of more like this to come. They've even reduced some of the frustration out of these boss fights by putting benches, your rest spots where you respawn, really close to the bosses. But to counterbalance this, I think the boss fights are slightly more complicated than in the first game, but the frustration in getting back to them isn't as high. But the same can't be said for all the exploration areas. Sometimes I felt like I was going for a really long time without finding a bench on some really complicated platforming, at least for me. And this even led me to double die once, which meant that I lost all my currency, because this uses the Dark Souls system of go and get your souls back after you lose them. So you have to travel to wherever you were going. And the place I was in a really complicated platforming section with some difficult enemies. So when I was trying to get back there, I died to the platforming again, and boom, all my currency is gone. And in Dark Souls, this would mean that you lose some of your levels or have gained level ups you would have from killing the enemies, and this would be fine. I don't think this is a huge issue. But in this game, it can be especially annoying, because the main use for currency, at least in the early game, is to access map features, because you have to buy the maps and the different waypoints that the maps use, so a lot of your currency is already going into this exploration part. You can also buy different exploration relics, combat relics, or defensive relics, and these all have their unique slots right now. So you can only put one exploration, one combat, and one defensive relic at the start, and I assume these will be increasing in slots. And the biggest relic you can have is the map relic that shows your own location at the start, so it's way easier to travel the map. But once you get accustomed to them, maybe you want to put on the relic that you can mark places with, or maybe have more slots and can have both open. So now you can see why currency is so important. But the issue here is that you don't mainly get currency from enemies, you get it from exploring, and they're one-time rewards. So when you die and lose all the hard-earned cash, it's gonna feel terrible. And honestly, my double death felt so devastating because now I was gonna lose out on all the map rewards I was saving for. And this kind of punishing design leads to a very unique style of exploring, where you have to be careful about everywhere you go, and you're constantly on the lookout for new benches. On top of the benches, you also want to look out for some secrets where you can find this currency, and the map maker who kind of sings, and you can locate her by listening to her song once you start hearing it. And the map maker, when you find it in the new area, opens up the map of that area. And getting to this map maker as fast as possible when reaching a new area is crucial to your success. Just trying to figure out these complicated levels, at least for me, is super hard without a map. Overall, I think Silksong's first look is a great experience for anyone who loves combat or platforming. And even if you only like one part of the game, I feel like you can start appreciating the other. Like, I am not a good platformer, but I can still enjoy the platforming because it's intertwined with the combat system that makes it fun. It's definitely a game where every aspect is good, but what ties it all together. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please hit the like button, subscribe, all that stuff. See ya!